And welcome back. Thank you for watching us here for Live Impact News on 13 News Now Plus. We're continuing to follow the deadly shooting on the campus of Old Dominion University. We know that one person has died, a victim there. Another, their condition has now been changed from critical to fair, according to Centera Norfolk General Hospital. But of course, a lot of questions remain in this situation as now investigators are trying to figure out not only what led up to it, what the motive was of the gunman, but how it fits within the possible threat of a terrorist attack. We have with us right now ABC News Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas joining us in the stream. Thank you so much for your time today. I know that you're covering this case as well. Unfortunately, it's not your first time having to cover a case like this. Of the details that we have so far, what has stood out to you?
Well, again, it's another reminder that we're in this period of time where these kinds of mass shootings scenarios, active shooter scenarios, are playing out on a routine basis. And I think the thing that always strikes me in these cases is the loss of life. That professor who seemed like a person who was doing the right thing in the right way, gone far too soon. And as we were saying a few moments ago, I'm sure he woke up yesterday morning not thinking his life was going to end. And sadly, this is a scenario we see playing out over and over and over again. I've had sources agree with my assessment that this is perhaps the most dangerous threat environment since 9/11, that we are seeing routinely mass attacks in public places, sometimes for political reasons, sometimes for geopolitical reasons. And if you put these things together, it's really quite disturbing. If you look at the assassination attempt against President Trump, then candidate Trump, then another assassination attempt against him within weeks. Then we had a terror attack to start last year out in New Orleans. Those state officials in Michigan who were shot, killed, and injured. We had diplomats, Israeli staff members in Washington assassinated, only feet from the FBI Washington field office. Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm leaving out a number of others. So this period of time that we're in is something different, and it's real.
You listed out all of these instances that we've seen play out over the last several years, and I think about this particular case where we have an individual who was in our judicial criminal system, had already been locked up because of a connection to ISIS, according to federal authorities. In your reporting, what have been some of the steps that maybe you have been made aware of that they're doing to track any of these threats before someone is able to act something out? Particularly, I mean, again, in this case, we knew of this person, maybe not what they were going to do, but we knew of them.
Well, this case is complicated in this sense. He was convicted, served his time, 8 years of an 11-year sentence. In America, typically when that's over, you've done your penance. We understand that he was under some level of supervision post-prison term, that he was to regularly check in with a probation officer, that the authorities could monitor his internet activity. But there's a question of, well, once someone is an avowed ISIS supporter, should you continue to do some level of surveillance on that person? That's an interesting question. Was there a period of time where he's been out of jail, out of prison, where he's been living was there a period of time when he's been out of jail, living a normal life without any suggestion of radicalization? We don't know the answer to those questions. But we do know this: as a convicted felon, he should not have been able to have a firearm. Where did the firearm come from? So this raises a lot of interesting questions about a steady stream of people we had who were affiliated, swore allegiance to ISIS, who went to jail. What happens to those people when they're released?
And you mentioned the fact that he was able to get his hands on a weapon, and that's going to be a lot of the questions into this process now moving forward. And we heard from the Norfolk Commonwealth attorney at the end of yesterday's first press conference, where he spoke to, before we knew who this individual was publicly, about gun control and his issues with that, right? Was however this person was able to get their hands on it. What other questions for you moving forward? You're looking at this from your scope and your experience that you are closely monitoring, that you say, you know what, we really need to see how this is going to play out. What are the other questions that now you're looking into?
Well, right now, the dynamic of the ongoing conflict with Iran. And a few weeks ago, I think it was on Good Morning America, I talked about a threat environment where law enforcement was focused on a number of things. Number one, were there Iranian sympathizers here in the country? Were there people that may have had direct ties to the Iranian government? The federal government wants to know. Are there lone wolf type people who are just unstable? And when they see tensions rise domestically and internationally, it just makes unstable people sometimes want to do things. Then there was the scenario which sources talked about, the potential of cyber threats. And then the other scenario that someone I distinctly remember, and it may have been in one of the bulletins, that supporters and or sympathizers of al-Qaeda and ISIS might see this period of tension as an opportunity zone to do things. And then lo and behold, within hours of the war starting, we had the suspect in Austin, Texas, who was wearing a T-shirt with the Iranian flag on it, kill people. Then now we have the incident in Michigan yesterday, on the same day that we have this tragedy here in Norfolk at ODU. So it's a moment where law enforcement, and I'm talking to them, and I can feel the tension in their voices.
Again, Chief Justice Correspondent for ABC News, Pierre Thomas, taking some time today to talk to us about obviously something that is on all of our hearts and mind here in Hampton Roads with this now deadly shooting at ODU. Thank you so much for taking time with us today.
My pleasure.
Mm-hmm.